So complex sentences are sentences that are made up of two clauses. A clause is a subject and a verb. Okay, so I play, this is a clause in English. I drink, I eat, you know, that is a clause. Most clauses usually have a complement, something, you know, to finish off the sentence, like I play football, or I ate an apple, whatever. So these are called clauses. So complex sentences are made up of two clauses. Okay, and the types of clauses they're called dependent clauses, and they're called independent clauses. Now, independent clauses do not have a meaning by themselves. If you read the independent clause by itself, it will not have any meaning whatsoever. So it'll just be strange. The person who's listening will be thinking that, where is the rest of this sentence? If I study hard, when I woke up in the morning, because I wanted to buy some milk, although the weather was hot, who he saw yesterday. Now, if we read these clauses by themselves, we know that the meaning is not complete. So this automatically should tell us that this clause is a dependent clause. Now, dependent clauses, they need a clause before it, or they need a clause after it to make it complete in meaning. So we have, if I study hard, I will pass the exam. When I woke up in the morning, I had breakfast. Because I wanted to buy some milk, I went to the shop. Although the weather was hot, I was wearing a jacket. I met the man who he saw yesterday, for example. Okay, so these are all dependent clauses, and all we need, you know, to fulfill the requirements of a band 7 is to have a variety of complex sentences with some accuracy. Now, some students go really, really overboard with all these grammatical structures that are not necessary for a band 7. And while they're doing so, the meaning is lost as well. So we're losing the meaning, and also we're losing the marks for GRA. So here quickly we have independent clauses. I will pass the exam. I had my breakfast. I went to the shop. I was wearing a jacket. John played with the girl. So these sentences, they don't need something else to make sense. So if I say, I will pass the exam, that makes sense in itself. We don't really need to add anything to make it make sense. I had my breakfast. That doesn't need anything to complete it. I was wearing a jacket. That doesn't need anything. John played with the girl. We can totally understand that. Okay, but with the dependent clauses, we can't. So how we make complex sentences is we combine dependent with independent to make one sentence. So if I study hard, dependent clause, I will pass the exam. When I woke up in the morning, dependent clause, I had my breakfast. Because I wanted to buy some milk, dependent clause, I went to the shop. Although the weather was hot, dependent clause, I was wearing a jacket. Independent clause. John played with the girl, independent clause, who he saw yesterday. Okay, and that is the dependent clause. Okay, so for complex sentences, we have 3 types. And the band descriptors, they tell us that they want a variety of complex structures with accuracy. So, here we have adverbial clauses. Adverbial clauses are clauses with subordinating conjunctions, like when, if, because, although, even though, and these are called subordinating conjunctions. Okay, and then we have noun clauses. A noun clause is a subject in a verb that functions as a subject of a sentence. So it's like a whole sentence, but we're using it as a subject for the verb. For example, what he didn't know. Okay, what he didn't know. So this is the subject. Was, what he didn't know was. So here we have a whole subject, functioning, a whole clause functioning as the subject. What he didn't know was, and then we can continue. For example, also we could use a noun clause as an object of a sentence. So we could say something like, I believe that. So believe is the verb, and then what's going to come after it is the object. So what do you believe? I believe that technology is a positive thing, or whatever it is that you're going to say. So in task 1, maybe it is clear that, it is noticeable that. So this is a type of noun clause, a clause functioning as an object of a sentence, okay, coming after the verb. So these noun clauses could come before the verb, could come after the verb, okay, but what we need is we need some of them in our writing. 1, 2, that's enough. Relative clauses with who, which, where. I met a man who was wearing a pink jacket. Okay, so we could have where for a place. I went to the shop where I saw you yesterday. Okay, which. Okay, London, which is in the UK, comma, is the London, which is in the UK, is a very crowded city. So this is these are called relative clauses. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the group links so you can study what adverbial clauses are, what noun clauses are, and what relative clauses are. I'm also going to put a video as well for that, and I want you to study them and to make sure, look at your writing and ask yourself the question, do I have a mix of these? Do I have a variety of these? If the answer is no, then you know why you might not be getting the band 7